Kimberly Crenshaw, you're going to learn about her in American Marxism, but she's on with Joy Reid, a Marxist and a bigot, I might add, and a liar about her bigotry, I might add again, and hence her primetime show on MSNBC. She's such a star. She had a guest the other evening by the name of Kimberly Crenshaw. Now, who's Kimberly Crenshaw? You've heard this term, intersectionality. That's a term that she is credited with inventing. I don't think she actually did, but it doesn't really matter. She has proposed it and promoted it a lot. She is a professor, as you might guess, at a college in California. And she is an advocate of critical race theory and has been for a long time. But intersectionality, as I was explaining before the program began here, what they mean by that is the networking of disparate minority groups, and it doesn't have to be racial minority groups in order to build this powerful aggregate. And so they intersect, and that is the oppressed and the victims of the white dominant imperialist capitalist society. And so you have the critical race theory types, you have the open borders types, and you have Chicano education that takes place, indoctrination in many of our schools, which promotes the idea that the United States of America is a nation that should not exist because there's the Americas, and the United States is nothing more than a white, Protestant, European, imperialist country that pushed out the indigenous peoples. And so there cannot be illegal aliens from within the American continents and so forth. This is being now taught all over our country. So you have that sort of thing going on. Then you have another thing going on, which is this degrowth movement, that capitalism is the source of all inequality, that capitalism is destroying humanity, that capitalism is destroying the earth. And so it's not just a matter of clean air and clean water, it's a matter of destroying the capitalist system, putting the state in charge of the economy. And the state in charge of the economy means diminished wealth. And this is what they want. It's called the degrowth movement. I first talked about it several years ago, came across it in another scholar's writings, and then you start to pick up from their writings and trace it to other writings and other scholars, which is what I do. And it was imported in the United States. So it's clearly an anti-American ideology. It's not about the environment at all. So you have this degrowth movement, so-called climate change movement, or Green New Deal movement. They like to use their own narratives. Immigration, race, and then you also have this so-called gender movement. And the ideology there is, wait a minute, just because the people in this nation early on believe that there's binary sexes, doesn't mean there has to be. Who are they to tell us what genitalia is, what we do with our genitalia, what kind of genitalia we have? Who are they to tell us that we're stuck in the bodies that we have? Where does that come from? Well, it comes from morality. No. You don't get to decide that for us. You're discriminating against us. So the social construct, as they call it, we've talked about a social construct before in a different sense. So the social construct is bigoted, particularly by white, straight Christians. And we don't have to abide by them. That's an entirely different movement. Again, spawned from Marxism because it has a number of Marxist elements and promoters within it. And so we've just talked about the so-called environmental movement, the so-called sex movement, the so-called open borders movement, the so-called critical race movement. And so they intersect. Intersectionality. They're all victims. They're all oppressed. Go.
Some of you may be wondering, what's the deal with the GOP freakout over critical race theory? It's everywhere and was even used as a GOP call to arms at a conservative Christian conference.
This is really quite bizarre. Is somebody secretly promoting critical race theory? No. There are books and books and books written on. They've been bestseller books. Kendi's book has been a bestseller. Delgado's book has been a bestseller. They've been on the list. This is what they talk about. This is what they promote. They don't hide it. So how is it the GOP's fault? And let me tell you something. The GOP is not doing a damn thing. These are people rising up as Joe Biden would say, the bottom up and the middle out. That's what's happening. There's no top-down political party direction here. It's okay with me if the GOP jumps in, but these are individual citizens or groups of citizens who are jumping in. So what's her problem? She has no connection to what's going on in these various communities. She doesn't get off her ass and get out of Washington, D.C. and come to Loudoun County or any of these other counties. She just sits back and pontificates. Go ahead.
And let me tell you right now, critical race theory is bigoted, it is a lie, and it is every bit as racist as the Klansmen in white sheets.
Okay,
He's
but here's
right.
the thing. None of this is random. This is the result of a highly manufactured strategy.
There's no manufactured strategy. People are fed up. Why do you lie about this? You know, John McWhorter, an associate professor, he's written an extensive article on this. He said this is a fake. The idea now that the argument from the left or Democrats is going to be none of this is going on, when in fact it's going on in front of our faces. Parents see it, everybody sees it, everybody's feeling it. On the one hand, it's being promoted, the indoctrination's taking place. On the other hand, it's a GOP conspiracy or it's really not happening. He says this is a head fake, this is a lie. This is how they intend to now spread this stuff by trashing anybody who objects to it. What are they objecting to? We're not doing anything. And Obama started it. Obama starts laughing and saying, what's the big deal? I mean, shouldn't we teach about racism in the schools? No, we shouldn't teach how to be a racist in our schools. That's the problem. Go ahead.
Seasoned political operatives looking for the perfect wedge issue to take back power. Something to combat the energy of the multiracial coalition that took Georgia, and something to replace Blue Lives Matter.
Okay, it has nothing to do with the multiracial, whatever she's talking about, the Blue Lives Matter, anything of the sort. These are parents, as a result of the virus, were watching what was going on their computer screens, and they were stunned. If the virus did anything positive, and it really didn't, but if it did anything positive, parents got to see, to some extent, what was going on in the classrooms. That's what happened. It wasn't some pronouncement by Rona McDonald or whatever her name is, the head of the RNC. Hey, everybody, it's time to rise up. It doesn't work that way. Notice how Black Lives Matter and Antifa, spontaneous movements against injustice. But if parents get together and they go to a school board meeting to challenge what's happening to their kids, it's manufactured by the GOP. She's a fraud. Go ahead.
January 6th exposed that slogan as a sham. Conservatives in Congress took note and started chattering, which was...
She doesn't know anything about conservatives, Congress, Republicans, what's going on in the community. These are her own imaginations running wild. Go ahead.
Gested into the feeder system of Fox News. The tagline disseminated, and the war against critical race theory took off.
So Fox News is responsible for the war on critical race theory. No, it's not. The battle on this issue has been going on long before Fox picked it up, long before any of the hosts on Fox picked it up, long before they ever heard of it. But this is the narrative. They want to destroy Fox. They want to destroy... This is how it works. It's not going to work, but this is how they work. Go ahead.
I just wrote down a few of the notes of what people are calling critical race theory. Marxism, racism...
Hello. So you see what's happening. American market. You see what I'm in for, by the way. You see what we're in for. This is what they're going to do. These are propagandists and demagogues. So when you call them what they are, they fire back with lies. I couldn't get either of these women on any of my shows if my life depended on it. They will never debate me. None of these folks will debate me. Go ahead.
Bigoted. Let's start with the Marxism. That's their favorite one. They're using that every single time. And I hate to ask dumb questions, so please don't think that
But you ask dumb questions all the time because you're a dummy. Go ahead.
Is critical race theory Marxism?
Look, you know what? Here's the thing, Joy.
Hold on. Is critical racism Marxism? Yes or no? But let's hold on. Go ahead.
Race theory is not so much a thing. It's a way of looking at a thing. It's a way of looking at...
You notice she didn't say no? Did you notice that? Wouldn't you say no? Hell no, it's not Marxism. No. They're painting us with this Marxist brush. Hell no, it's not Marxism. And it also shows you what an ignoramus Joy Reid is. She has no idea what's going on. Folks, I'm not kidding. I'm going to give you a chapter and verse out of the mouths of the founders of this movement. And she knows it. She's in the book. She knows damn well that it's a Marxist movement and it started with a Marxist. Go ahead.
It's a way of looking at why, after so many decades, centuries actually, since the emancipation, we have patterns of inequality that are enduring. They are stubborn.
We will always have patterns of inequality that are enduring. Always. I'm looking at Mr. Executive Producer and Mr. Producer. They're not equal. I wish they were equal. One's taller than the other. They both look okay. One might make more money than the other. One might have a few kids. The other's not married. They're not equal. And it has nothing to do with their physical features. Seriously, it has nothing to do with anything. It is what it is. Can you imagine a society in which everybody's equal? First of all, notice they never define that. What does that mean? Equal what? In what way? And in our schools, again, you'll see from the book, they're actually trying to eliminate merit. Merit for teachers, eliminate merit pay, and merit for students. So they can go to AP classes, go to top schools where we can really develop scientists and compete with the Chinese scientists and so forth. No, you don't understand. That's racist or that's some other ist. So there's always going to be inequality. It's the Marxist that tries to make everybody equal. And as a result, we have 100 million people killed as a result of Marxism. By the way, how many people are killed as a result of the implementation of capitalism? None. Capitalism isn't a theory, it's a reality. It's not an abstraction, it's what people do. Trade, sell, buy, create, think.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.